Hey, what's up everybody? This is your boy Kenny, and this is Greenleaf Season 3, Episode 3, and the name of this episode is Chain of Command. This was a very heavy episode, and it was so good. I am so happy Greenleaf is back. Man, so much went down in this episode, and I'm going to try my best to keep everything together and not make this a long review, so I ask all of you to bear with me. So, let's begin. The episode opens up, you can cut the tension with a knife. Lady May and Grace are sitting at the breakfast table. Sophia's trying to break the tension, you know, and Lady May pretty much tells Sophia that she's going to have, you know, dinner with her later on. But Grace and Lady May ain't talking because Grace told her off the other night after she found out that her mother was having an affair with Lionel, but here it is, she was judging her relationship with Darius. So we saw last week she got her together when she was like, I am done with feeling wrong, I am done with feeling dirty, I am done. So while they're sitting there, Sophia goes off to school. The maid comes in and delivers a package to Lady May. And what it is divorce papers from the bishop. So of course Grace is concerned, like, is everything okay, Mom? What is it? She's like, oh, you got some nerve to be trying to talk to me after you talked to me the other night? And if you weren't family, you wouldn't even be in this house. I'm like, Lady May, you need to check yourself, because at the end of the day, you've always disrespected and talked to her any kind of way. And what Grace did was just tell you that she's no longer going to take that from you. She's no longer going to feel guilty and feel bad or feel shamed every time you want to throw something in her face, when yet you got your own demons yourself, sis. So, yeah. So with that, I was like, Lady May, you tripping. Because you always playing like someone's doing something to you, but yet you be doing some foul stuff yourself, especially the way you treat her. Because she's the one that points at the elephant in the room and says it's smelling and it's right there, but yet you're somehow conditioned to act like nothing's happened. You always want to play that everything is fine, and that's kind of like the Greenleaf way. And we see not only does Lady May does that, the bishop does it too, and he did it throughout this episode. So let's keep it moving. So at the office, the bishop's talking to Darlene, and he's asking, has she seen the first lady? And she's like, no. She's like, well, I'm pretty sure she's gonna find me or whatever. And then he gets to his office, he talks to Corinne, and Corinne lets him know that Charity's in there and she wants to talk to you. And I told her that, you know, I told her that she should come back later, but she was insisting on waiting. So he goes in there, him and Charity have a conversation, they go back and forth. Charity lets him know that she quit the tour, and, you know, and he lets her know that, you know, Kevin's trying to fight for custody and all of that, and, you know, but then she says, but if I want to come back home, I want to come back to the church, but I want to preach, I want to move forward with my career, I just don't want to be just singing. And of course he was like, you know, well, you're a singer, and, you know, that's what you're called to do. And but then she actually had a good idea for a message, and she pretty much said that, you know, what my message is going to be about is that our souls are songs, and that the Lord is our choir director, trying to get us to learn these songs within our souls and to understand who we are and what we're called to do. And I'm like, Charity is definitely in line to become a preacher herself, but she used to preach with the Little Saints when she was younger, but she's never been able to preach as a grown-up. And we know this about, we actually know about this situation in the very first episode of season 1, when she tried to make her plea, when she said she wanted to do the message on the 12 seasons of Christian marriage. Yeah, and we seen what happened to your marriage. So It's a good thing she ain't preached that, huh? But but then the bishop pretty much shuts her down and was like, at one point I wanted to be a baker, but then I see that didn't turn out, so then I became a pastor. And she was like, really? He was like, no, that really didn't happen. So what I'm trying to tell you is that you need to kind of stay in your lane and stop using this preacher thing, because preaching is something that you're called to do. It's not a plan B to your career. And she was really offended, and she walked out. And I'm like, see, the bishop, I'm going to get on the bishop, because the bishop has his little ways about him where he can come off as being very arrogant and very full of himself, but then yet we've seen time after time that he comes short of God's glory just like everybody else. But it's like he's so quick to keep up this image of him being the bishop that he makes certain decisions and certain moves where you be looking like, well, bruh, you acting like you ain't never been down this road before. You're quick to shut somebody down and tell them that they're wrong, just like he did with Grace when he told her about his about Lady May's relationship with Lionel, and he was like, excuse me, just being very dismissive, like, and I'm like, but yeah, it's messed up that she was messing around with Lionel, but you were messing with her sister, Bishop. Do you know how deep that is when you know they don't like each other, and you was messing with her sister before and during your marriage? See, that's the part I'm talking about, is that the bishop gets very simple and gets very full of himself at times, to the point you got to double back at him like, really, Bishop? You supposed to be a man of the cloth, and yet this is how you coming off? And she had a good message, and he just shut her down. And it got to the point where Charity was heartbroken, and she kind of just walked out. And then we see that Grace is getting a donation from one of Rochelle's contacts. And then the bishop comes in afterwards, to talk to Grace. And he was like, so have you seen your mother? He was like, well, not since this morning. She got a letter, and she was very upset after she received it. And she just got in her car and sped off. I don't know what's going on. And pretty much, she's asking, do you know what's going on, Dad? And he was like, I think you need to hear this from me. And we later on find out that he did tell her that he served her divorce papers. Then we get a scene with Tasha and Jacob at Triumph. And Tasha lets him know that there have been some torn envelopes in the in the offering baskets. And she says that, I know sometimes people change their minds once they put money in, they want to take it out or whatever, but there's been some amounts that have been missing, because I'm thinking now Tasha is now working as the treasurer now as well, now that he done fired Brittany. Because, Brittany did say that, the message, was off, but so was the money. So Brittany was even on to the fact that, yes, that money wasn't looking right. And now Tasha's saying the same thing, that some of those, some of the money's been missing from the collection, and we already know is that crazy Zora. I'm trying my best not to cuss, because I don't cuss on this review, so bear with me. But yeah, it's Zora and her messy tail. And pretty much he says, so pretty much Jacob says, okay, give me a list of all the ushers and I'm gonna have a meeting. But then he tells Tasha, don't make it a big deal, just let them know I want them to come in and congratulate them, and I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Next we see Lady May sitting in front of a lawyer. Her name is Miss Davison. She talks about the divorce papers and everything. And pretty much, she says, so what do I do? Miss Davison says, you pay $10,000. That's pretty much my retainer. And we go from there. And then, of course, Lady May tried to play that angle like, are you a Christian? She's like, no. But after this divorce is over, you'll be thankful that I'm not one. Because at the end of the day, you trying to fight for what's yours. And here it is, you getting a divorce, but yet you're still trying to put that Christian authority onto somebody, which I thought was funny. But then she lets it be known that, look, she just bluntly tells Lady Mae that, look, you in for a fight. And like, Lady Mae was like, well, I just want what's mine. And she says that, yeah, but I've represented a lot of first ladies, and they all wanted the same thing. They wanted what was rightfully theirs. But I'm here to let you know, you probably won't get it. And she's like, well, what do you mean by that? She says that, you know, no matter how many times you hold your bishop's hand, how many dinner events that you host, how many sermons you help preach, or how many times you're there to support the bishop, when your bishop is done with you, it's Cinderella time. And Lady Mae was like, what do you mean by that? What I mean is that when the clock strikes 12, the party's over. So she now realizes that even though her and the bishop have been married for 44 years, going on 45, she can literally walk away with basically nothing. And that the bishop could run away with everything. Because remember, when she came to Triumph and her and Tasha had that discussion, all that played back when she talked about how she told a story about this woman. And Tasha knew what she was doing because Tasha was being messy. Because she knows that there's issues in their marriage because, you know, her and Rochelle are tight. And nobody know that they're sister-in-laws. But, you know, she tells about that bishop who left his wife for a younger woman. She practically had to live in low-income housing after the divorce. So all of this is now starting to play in Lady Mae's mind that, wow, after all these years I've been with this man, I could lose it all. So we see that Corinne actually goes in to check on the bishop, and he asks her, you know, has the first lady been by? And he's like, no. So it's obvious he did this because he wanted a reaction from Lady Mae. Like, because we've come to find out within this episode, you know, he did the divorce, but in all actuality, he really didn't want a divorce. He just wanted to do it to get her attention to see what she was going to do. You know, playing those games. And, you know, so Corinne's asking him, are you okay? And he's like, oh no, I'm fine. Everything's good. Everything's fine. I'm like, the same thing Lady Mae does. They all about that image and they don't deal with their reality. Or they like to keep their stuff internal and they want to create an image for the outside world. And I think that Corinne was very genuine. You know, you could have just told the truth, but the bishop is still trying to keep that image up. So then we see that Lady Mae ends up going to this blues bar. She gets the bartender, whose name is Vernon, and he's played by Glenn Plummer. It was good seeing him. You know, I definitely loved him in the movie South Central, and you know, he's played in many other roles as well. I mean, a great actor. You know, and he's the bartender, and she asks for a Brandy Alexander, you know, which is definitely like an upscale drink, but she taught him how to make it, and he just had him coming to her the whole night. You know, and we see that Lady Mae is getting twisted up in this bar, you know, and we see that later on, her and Vernon, you know, they start talking and everything, and he lets her know about a nearby hotel, and he keeps her drinks coming, and she asks these two women to come join her, and they start having a conversation. And while they're having this conversation, she reveals some things about herself. And she says that she had her best friend named Maxine Patterson. They both got accepted. They both got accepted into the School of Divinity at Howard University, right here in DC. And she said that Maxine got accepted, I got accepted, and we were both going to go and do this together. But at the last minute, I chose not to go because I chose a man over my own destiny. And I'm going to get to that because the bishop later has this kind of plays back when the bishop meets up with Jacob. So we see that so we pretty much see that, you know, she's having a conversation with these women, and she's letting them know that, you know, it just goes to show you that here it is, I just got served divorce papers. And she pretty much says that you can give your life to a man, and just in one fell swoop, he can just take it all away. And she says, I gave up my own career to support a man, and now I could be without anything. And then we see that she gets so drunk that she's not able to drive. She's dancing and getting her life. She goes to the hotel room. She looks herself in the mirror, and we see that she's kind of being faced with her reality that, yeah, she could lose it all. Everything that she helped build and everything that she helped establish with the church, she could walk away with basically nothing. And then we see that the add injured to the situation. She laying in bed. Maxine has her own show, which plays on television, and she literally just lays in bed and cries. And I have to admit it, I kind of felt sorry for Lady Mae in this moment, because it's like she finally is coming to terms that I could have been a successful preacher just like the bishop himself. Because we definitely seen I think it was the end of season 1 when she was preaching at the ladies' conference. She has the gift to preach as well. But here it is, she gave up her passion to be with the bishop, and yet she could lose everything after her sacrifice. Oh yeah, I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. Okay. Alright, so then I'm gonna talk about Darius and Bishop. I'm sorry. I'm gonna talk about Darius and Grace. Darius calls and he apologizes for what he said about her being a hypocrite. Because I'm like, yeah. And, shout out to James Caldwell, because James Caldwell called this out in his review, too, that, I have to agree with this, that Darius is getting too comfortable with just coming out his mouth any kind of way when it comes down to the Greenleafs. Like, yeah, they have their stuff, and they got a whole bunch of crap going on, but at the end of the day, that's still her mother and her father, and she honors her mother and her father, and that church is her family's church, and she grew up, in Calvary, and grew up around that church. So there's a special place that she holds dear to that. Even amongst all the craziness, she's loyal to her family, and she's loyal to her church home. And, Darius just been talking, saying whatever, like, don't be a hypocrite and all of that, and, like, bruh, you doing too much. Because at the end of the day, that's still her mother and her father. Regardless of all the bad she does, regardless of all the bad they do, she's not going to turn her back on her family. But then she also tells him in the conversation that that the bishop has served divorce papers to her mother, and she's worried, and we definitely see, and then later on when they go out or whatever, when they go out to dinner, she brings up, Rochelle Cross, and saying that, there's something with her, and I just can't put my finger on it, and I just know that something ain't right with her, and I need to, get to the bottom of why she's here, and what is her motive, and what's her aim. Because she knows that Rochelle is full of it, and she knows that Rochelle got an agenda. So Darius agrees that he's gonna, he has a friend in the police department who could do a background check on her. When he comes back later on, he says that, yeah, I did a background check on her. She's clean, but yet I found some information about how a lot of these churches are taking bribes, from the IRS, and that there's this one person who's this guy who's been taking bribes from different churches, getting them all from paying their taxes and all of that. And she was like, and guess who? And guess what? And Grace was like, Calvary's on the list. He was like at the very top. So now he got some info about Calvary. The question is he going to do a story on it? In due time, we'll find that out. Then we get then after that we see, then another thing that happened is that Lady Mae was set to do this interview about the rise of women in leadership roles, but because no one can find Lady Mae, Grace ends up doing the interview. You know, which, you know, at the end of the day, you know, Grace is one of the leaders in the church, so it was rightfully fit. And later on, you know, Lady Mae finds out about it, and she wasn't too happy about that. But boo boo, you snooze, you lose. It is what it is. So then we see that the bishop goes to see Jacob, and he's asking, "Have you talked to your mother?" And she was like, "No." And you know, he was like, "No." And then the bishop tells the story that when I first asked your mother to marry me, she said no. You know, and that she had this other life and had other plans. You know, and here it was. I was about to give. I literally was about to pack up my storefront church, everything I had, my apartment, and I was gonna, you know, leave, because he said that, you know, I couldn't imagine no life without her. And he was like, and Jacob's like, "Where you getting at, Dad?" And he was like, "That same woman who was just as stubborn and focused, that she's the same woman now as she was then. And in order to get her attention, you got to make a bold move." So that's when he tells him that I filed for divorce. And Jacob is livid. He goes off like, "What? Like, why would you do that?" And he was like, "Look, you know," he's like, "Why would you do this?" And he was like, "Look, I don't want to divorce her. I just wanted to get her attention, and I wanted to, you know, I wanted to, you know, shake her at her core to like, you know, to get us to get, you know, for us to get past this whole situation." So yeah, so now he done told Jacob, but then again, it just goes to show you her other plans was that she got accepted to the school of divinity at Howard University, and she gave that up to be your wife. So now it all makes sense, and that's why Lady Mae is going through this whole, you know, trial and tribulation that she's dealing with in this episode, because she just realized that this man gonna divorce me, gonna serve me divorce papers after I gave up my life for him. So yeah, she's kind of like, this fool got some nerve. Okay, next I'm gonna talk about Charity, and I'm gonna put Charity all together. Charity, when we first see her, she tries to make a call to Jabari. Jabari completely brushes her off and is like, "I'm busy," and hangs up. And we see he's already caressing this new girl that replaced Charity on the tour. Now that Charity has decided not to do the tour, she's now permanent. He got a contract on her, and now he is grooving, and he's now you know, caressing and conditioning her. And I'm like, "Oh, Jabari, you are a piece of trash. You are nothing but trash, bruh." Because later on we see how trashy he is, because then we see that that Charity goes to pick up little Nathan from Kevin. Kevin went somewhere, but he will be right back. Nathan has bonded with Aaron, and he's been playing with Aaron and everything, and we see that Charity feels some kind of way, and Charity's putting on the image that everything is okay, everything is fine, but she feels some kind of way because Jabari keeps blowing her off, and he's not really responding to her. And you know, and the thing about it, Charity was early, and yeah, she was early because she felt some kind of way, and she wanted to grab onto the baby because she feeling some kind of way because Jabari ain't talking to her, and then also because her father rejected her plight to preach in the church. So she just getting hit left and right. So she's coming there with Aaron. Her and Aaron are talking, and Aaron was like, "Well, I was hoping that you were gonna come a little later when Kevin was back, because we both wanted to talk to you." And she was like, "Oh, so what is it? You moving in now?" And he was like, "Well, actually, I've been I didn't want to say anything until it was finalized. But yes, I got an offer to work here in Memphis. So yeah, I will be here permanently, and he's kind of letting me know that yeah, me and Kevin are a couple. We together, and we see that Nathan done bonded with Aaron, and we know she feels some kind of way about that. And of course, Aaron can tell that something's wrong with Charity, and Charity's trying to play it off. Oh no, I'm fine. Everything's going good for me. I'm living my life, and I'm doing what I love. Everything is great. So, but then she ends up leaving and tells him that we'll tell Kevin I'll talk to him later. Next thing you know, we see that she's driving, in the car with little Nathan. This girl drove 7 hours to meet up with Jabari. And she comes in there with the stroller and the baby to confront Jabari. Jabari's rehearsing the new girl, and you can definitely tell he literally replaced her with a new chick, and now all that love and affection he was giving Charity, he's now giving to old girl. So we already see that Jabari's a snake, and he only likes to caress and finesse the women that work for him, and that he got contracts on them, and they do things his way. Once he making money off of them, then he wants to romance them, and he's already doing that with old girl. So Charity confronts him. It's like, look, I'm here, I'm ready to get started. You can send that girl home. I'm here now. And she was like, you drove 7 hours, to be here, because I think they're in like Jackson, Mississippi or whatever. She drove 7 hours in the car with little Nathan. And he was like, well, why wouldn't you do this before? I thought you said that Kevin said you couldn't take the baby out of state. She was like, I ain't worried about Kevin. I do what I want to do. And she's like, but I'm here now. You can send that girl back, and I'm here now. Now I can do this, and we can be together and everything. And he was like, first of all, I got contracts on old girl like I had on you. And the thing about it, she actually honors her contract where you like to break them. And she was like, excuse me, where you getting at? He was like, look, Charity, we had a deadline. You signed the contract. We were supposed to follow through with things. And you just think that you can just break a contract and everything, and I'm supposed to give up everything that I'm doing. And she was like, but I thought you loved me. And he's like, I did. Lies. You never loved her. You loved what she could do for you. You never loved her. And she began to realize that in the conversation. But then she was saying that, well, if that's how the way you felt, then why did you break up with me when I decided I want to come back on the tour? He was like, I thought about it. I didn't want to, but now I do. It's over. We done. And he's like, you can leave. I don't want you here. Just go on. I'm done. And I was just like, oh, so now you got you a new little piece. Charity ain't worth nothing to you now, huh? All that caressing and stroking and scooping that you was doing with Charity, all of a sudden now she not important because she didn't play the game the way you wanted to play it. And you can see that Charity starts to break down, and she felt that big. Because here it is, you done, was literally ready to push Kevin to the side for Jabari. Jabari was the all and be all. He was everything. And you realize here it is, you done left your situation with Kevin thinking you got something better, and you only ended up with 20%. The 80-20 rule. That's exactly what played out in this episode, and Charity just felt small. Then we see on the way back, she's talking to Kevin, and Kevin was like, yeah, I was really hoping that I will be there to actually tell you in person that, yeah, that Aaron is going to move in and we're going to be together. And she's like, well, yeah, that's cool. It is what it is. And he was like, so where are you? And she's like, I'm on tour. And he can hear the baby in the background. So we're going to see in the next episode, oh, yeah, Kevin ain't playing when it comes down to the welfare of his child. And when he told her that you're not taking my son, across state lines. But here it is, Charity doing the most anyway because she in her feelings. See, if you would have just let Kevin have the baby, you could have still had your career, could have still been doing what you were doing, but you was in your feelings because you were jealous. Your jealousy over the fact that Kevin has moved on, and on top of it, he got him a good man on top of that. He got him a man that's established. While you up in here chasing Jabari, and now you realize that Jabari ain't all what he was what he was presenting to be. Like he was this good man and he really cared about her welfare. I'm like, oh no. Jabari was only on board when you were making money for Jabari. And when you were playing when you were playing to Jabari's tune, but now you ain't playing his tune no more. He got somebody else to play those notes. So yeah, in some way, you know, as much as I would go in on Charity, I actually did feel sorry for her in this episode, because here it is, she really thought this man loved her, and she realized, no, he only loved what she could do for him. He didn't love her at all, and didn't care about her kid or nothing. But hey, that's a harsh reality you got to deal with, you know, so it goes to show you, stop jumping into relationships thinking that, you know, you get out of one relationship and you quit to jump into another one. Yeah, you might realize that the person who you jumping in with obviously don't, at the end of the day, don't give a you know what about you. Or don't give a crap about you. I'm just trying my best not to cuss because I have that instinct and I just have to check myself. Okay, so then we see that Jacob and Carissa have a conversation. They talk about Lady May and the bishop because he lets her know about them getting divorced. And she was like, look, you know, I may have my feelings against your parents or whatever, or about your parents, but them, after all these years getting a divorce, I just don't understand it. I don't even know if I can actually see them not being together. So we see that later on they have dinner. You know, the little boy is like, I did my homework in 3 minutes. Like, the little boy is so adorable. And then he was asking, like, so what about you, Zora? And then we see that Zora's not saying nothing. And Carissa was like, your father asked you a question. And she was saying that, well, I did my homework in ink. And can I please get my computer back? Because remember the last episode, she got back her TV, but that connection to the internet was shut off. And he was saying that, no, the deal was that you got back your TV. I ain't saying nothing about the computer. And she was like, well, I want to know, can I get up? Because me sitting here is like having a thorn. And I'm like, oh, see, Zora ain't gonna be happy that somebody slaps the dog piss out of her because she don't know what to say out of her mouth. She's disrespectful, and then on top of it, she's doing the unthinkable. So pretty much Carissa was like, take your plate and get your plates and take it to the kitchen. Because even Carissa was getting mad because she really is doing the most. But then once they leave or whatever, him and Carissa have a conversation. And he was like, I think she's the one stealing the money. And Carissa's like, oh no, why would you think that? And Jacob was like, she's the newest usher on you know, that's been added to the roster, and we weren't having problems with no missing money until now. And if anything, you know, Jacob knows that his daughter be playing them games because, hey, like father, like daughter. Obviously, this is how Jacob was when he was growing up, and we kind of saw some of these traits when he was messing around with Alyssa. But then here go Carissa being that passive parent. You know, just because she's going through a hard time doesn't mean she's a thief. She's a good kid. She's a good girl. Boo-boo the fool. Zora is a cautionary tale. And the bishop knows it. And it seems like everybody gets how the way Zora moves except for her mother. Because she got her mother completely blinded. But all that changed in this episode. So we see that Jacob has a meeting with the ushers, and we can tell he's looking through the ushers and everything, and they're talking, but he's definitely looking at Zora. And eventually, later on that day, he comes in, bangs on the door, and says, Zora, open this door. And he's banging on the door. He's like, what's going on? He's like, I know she took the money. I know she took it. She opens the door. Jacob goes through her room, ransacks everything, and he ends up finding the money. He's like, what I tell you, talking to Carissa. And then Carissa just has this look like, just like shame and disappointment. I'm like, he tried to tell you that your daughter's a mess. Your daughter is a hot mess, and she's always doing something treacherous and sneaky. He's trying to tell you that no, your daughter is not the cream of the crop as you think. Your daughter got issues, and she needs to be checked. So then we also get a scene between Rochelle and Tasha. You know, Tasha knows about the IRS, the whole IRS situation, and she's like, I'm just waiting, you know, for all that to come down, and we're gonna use that. And you know, she starts talking to Tasha like, oh yes, and I see you got Jacob wrapped around your finger and everything. And she's like, look, I was really trying to help him out, you know. And she's like, well, hey, you keep on doing that. That's like the oldest trick in the book, you know, get the man to be all up under you. And you know, Tasha, we can tell, is having second thoughts about this whole thing. And she's like, you know, but what about God? What about our souls? I mean, are we right by doing this? And she was saying that, look, we need to stay the course, because at the end of the day, we know what James Greenleaf did. He killed my daddy. And I don't want to hear nothing about no soul or nothing like that, because they have been making a mockery of the church for 2 generations, and with grace, it's going to be 3. And I'm not here for it. We on the right side of this, and we just got to stay the course. And if anything, I need you on your A game, because I ain't got no time for no backsliding. I was like, oh, Rochelle is really showing that she out for blood and she out for revenge, and she's willing to use her smarts and finance to trap them up, and she ain't backing down. But we see that Tasha is having some type of resistance to this whole situation, so we're gonna see how it's gonna play out later on. So then we actually see that I think I did cover everything. Yeah. Yeah, I did. You know, and then we also see that the bishop had like this conversation with Sophia, you know, and he pretty much was saying that, you know, at one point we were poor and we didn't have anything, and she was saying that, but then, you know, Sophia was like, but you had a dream. She said, yeah, but sometimes dreams you couldn't afford that. And she says that, wow, that sounds hard. And she's like, yeah, but that's mostly everybody's life. So he's kind of giving Sophia like the real deal, that, you know, at one point we barely had a pot to piss in. So then later on, we actually see that Lady May is there to talk to the bishop. She's talking to Corinne, and she lets him know that she's going to be going out of town to the ATL to see her friend. You know, to see her friend or whatever. And then she also see that Grace did the article because it was a deadline that had to be met. No one could find Lady May, and you know, so Grace did the article. But then also we had saw that earlier when she had talked to Sophia on the phone, and then the bishop got on the phone. She hung up the phone when she was in that blues bar getting wasted. So then we see at the last scene is finally the bishop and Lady May finally meet up. So the whole episode they weren't in the same space, but towards the end they were. And he was like, look, I'm sorry that I did what I did. She's like, oh no, James, no need for an apology. I'm glad you did what you did. You know, it gave me clarity. It opened my eyes to things, and you know, I forgive you for everything. You know, even with, you know, messing with Mavis and all of that. I just forgive you for all of it. And he was like, well, we can now start over. She was like, oh, no. We can't start over. You know, I think our chapter has finally ended. I forgive you for everything, but I can't forgive myself, because here it was. I gave up my calling and gave up what God wanted me to do, to sit up here and live my life under a man. So she says that, look, I gave those papers to my attorney. She made some notes, and we're gonna send it back to you. And I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And he was like, don't do this. Please don't do this, May. And May was like, I have to. And she walks out, and once she leaves, we see that the bishop starts to cry. And I was like, see, that's what happens when you play with fire. You play with fire, you might just get burnt. See, he thought by doing that was going to kind of like it was going to kind of like check her, or more like get her to stop tripping. But you doing that, now she ready to divorce you for real. Because yeah, she was ready to divorce you. Because remember the last episode, she went off on him and was like, I'm ready to divorce your black A. And here it is, he's serving divorce papers. So here it is, you thought that it was going to play in your favor, and that, you know, by you doing that, maybe it would get you guys to come back together and start over. But at the end of the day, you really didn't want the divorce. You just did that to get her attention. You got her attention, but you didn't get the results you wanted. So I'm saying, when you play with fire, you can get burnt. But yeah, my heart went out to the bishop towards the end of this episode. I'm like, man. You know, because we see that he really did love May. And he does love her. You don't be with somebody for almost 45 years, and there's no love there. I mean, yeah, he did some messed up stuff throughout their marriage, but he did love her, and he did love the children. So it's like their whole foundation, that's a lifespan. And the fact that she was like, I'm getting a divorce, yeah, that hurt his heart. So that's what I have, everybody. If I missed anything, put it down in the comments. I'd love to talk to you about it. But subscribe to my channel. Click that bell so you can get notifications every time I drop a video. Also, follow me on all of my social platforms. I have them listed in the description box. Also, like this video, comment on this video, and share this video. And I'll be back with the next episode of Greenleaf. I am so here for Greenleaf because season 3 is awesome and it's explosive, and I can't wait for the next bomb to drop. So until next time, everybody, take care.